So right now, we're in week 7 of term 4, coming close to the end of 2020, wrapping up this year. Now, what we've gone through this year, all of that stuff, is kind of a little blessing in disguise, I like to think. It's not a great one, it wasn't a great one, but what it does remind us of is to be grateful for what we do have. For the ability that we do have to come to school and to hang out with our friends, to go to cafes, to go to restaurants, whatever, all that kind of thing that we used to just do and take for granted was taken away. So the fact that that's been taken away puts us in a position where we are able to appreciate what we do have, appreciate each other, and make the most of the opportunities that are in front of us. Today, I want to entitle my talk, Play Till the End. Play till the end, because we're coming up to the end of term 4, and it's pretty easy to start slacking off. It's pretty easy to just be like, wind down, and doesn't really matter anymore. We're coming to the end, let's just relax a little bit. I want to give you an encouragement this morning to play right till the buzzer, play till the end. The last day of week 10, it's only 3 more weeks away. It's made me think of this particular basketball game in 2019. Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semi-finals. Toronto Raptors and the Philadelphia 76ers. Down to the last few seconds of the game. The ball is passed in to Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard runs around, there's less than a second left, shoots, bounce, in. Amazing. This was all right and at the very, very last second. Now I want you to imagine, what if Kawhi Leonard gave up even a second early? Even half a second early? Because that shot went off and the buzzer went off straight after, so it was less than a second when he pulled off that shot. What would have happened if he gave up early, if he threw the towel in, if he did not play right till the buzzer? The Raptors wouldn't have won, that's for sure. It would have been a tie, and then it would have gone to extra time. Did they do extra time? Hey, Jono. It would have gone to overtime, and who knows who would have won. But the fact that he played right till the end meant he got the result that he was after for his team. It's super important that we play right till the end. It's made me think of a story in the Bible, in 2 Kings, and it's about Elisha. Now, Elisha was a prophet in the Old Testament. I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but there's some great stories in the Bible about this man, Elisha. Now, what happened was, in this story, one of the prophets who was associated with Elisha had died, passed away. And it seems as though that him and his wife owed a little bit of money. So some debt collectors were coming to his house. He had deceased, so they're actually coming to his wife's house, his widow's house, and he was going to, and the Bible tells us that the debtors were going to take away her 2 sons as slaves. And she cried out to Elisha and asked for help. Like, Elisha, please, what can you do? What can you do to help me? And Elisha says this, "What shall I do for you? Tell me, what have you in the house? What do you have to give?" An interesting question here, because Elisha could have just fixed the problem, but he wanted her to give something of herself. And her response, "Your servant has nothing inside the house except 1 jar of oil." Little jar of oil, that's all she had. 1 jar of oil. What can that get you? Oil was kind of valuable back then, but 1 jar, nah. It's nothing. It's not going to pay off the debts, that's for sure. So Elisha said, "Go outside, borrow vessels from all your neighbors, empty vessels and not too few. Then go in and shut the door behind yourself and your sons, and pour into all these vessels. And when one is full, set it aside." So, yep, all right, we'll give it a go. So she goes out into all the neighborhood and they're like, "All right, give me all your vessels. Give me all your jars. I need empty jars." So they go out into all the neighbors and they get their empty jars. And then they go into the house, her and her sons, shut the door behind them, and they have this little jar of oil, and then they fill up a jar. And then she's like, son, grab me another jar. So she grabs another jar, and then they fill up that jar too. Puts that aside. Is there any more jars? Yep, there's 3 more. Grabs them, fills it up, fills it up, fills it up. And then finally she says, bring me another vessel. And he said to her, there is not another. And the oil stopped flowing. She came and told the man of God, Elisha, and he said, go sell the oil, pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on the rest. This little piece of oil, this little jar of oil, which was not much, God used to create a lot. And then they could sell that oil, and they could pay off their debts, and they could live. It's an amazing story. God was able to use this woman's tiny amount of oil to do something great. And sometimes we don't think that God can use us, that we don't have enough oil to give, or our oil isn't very good. It's kind of worthless. That what we have to give is just this little jar. It's not much. It's not a biggie. Like what difference can I make? I think that, to be honest with you. It's easy to look at our little piece of oil and our little contribution that we have to make and to ridicule it to ourselves. We don't really value what we have to give. Some of us do, but it's easy to discredit what we do have. But this story reminds me that God can take what little we do have and make something amazing from that. Can pour out way more than we ever would have imagined. Make much more of a difference than we ever could have imagined that we would make. So this story is important because God didn't just make something from nothing. This lady had to use what she did have. She had to make the most of what she had, to pour it out. Pouring out our own oil can be very scary. It puts us in a position where we're vulnerable, where people might laugh at us and ridicule us. And maybe it's a bit embarrassing.Maybe what we have to give might not be, it might be a bit shameful, might not be good enough. Maybe let's say you're a musician and you just think, I'm not very good. Let's say you make movies and you're thinking about entering a film competition at school, at Gilson. And you might think, my movies aren't very good. I've seen Pastor Brayden's movies and they're amazing. They're not that amazing because I compare myself to other people as well. It's easy to get fixated on what other people can do and forget about what we have to offer. What we can do, like go hard, pour out, see what happens. Even though it might not be that good, it doesn't matter because God can take what you do have and make something amazing from that. Now, sometimes I like to think of life as kind of like a pasture, like a field, or a basketball court outside, just behind us. It's kind of like this box in your life. It's like the grounds that you have to play within, your space. And maybe when you're younger, that space is quite small. You're a bit limited. Your parents might not let you do very much. And it's small. But I want to encourage you this morning, play right to the boundaries. Use up all of that space. Use up all of the opportunities that are there. Use up all of the skills. And as you grow, as you get older, that space gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You get more and more responsibilities. More and more people will ask you for help. And then all of a sudden, you're known as the main piano player at school. You're known as the main video maker at school. Like, I can give you examples. I know like our year 12 students before, when they were a bit younger, they weren't like the amazing musicians that we see today. That was a process. That's something that people grow into. And if you're out there and you're like just beginning, keep going because you will grow, you will get better, and your boundaries will increase. The same's true in career. When you move forward in your life, when you do your first job, you're only allowed to do a few little things. Maybe it's at McDonald's and all you're allowed to do is work the fryer. Woo. Or maybe you have to just sweep the floors. That's all you can do. But go hard at that. And then maybe you move into a role of manager and your field's all of a sudden huge, and you're able to work with a team, and you're able to influence them and grow. Like I said before, it's pretty hard, it's pretty vulnerable, doesn't necessarily feel nice. You might get dissed from your friends for being a bit of a try-hard or whatever. I don't know what you guys say, but that was a cool word back in my day. But don't worry about the haters. Just do your thing. Pour out your oil. Try your best. It doesn't matter if it's cringy or whatever. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about any of that. Just do your thing, and God will do the rest. Give what you have to give, and God will bless that. That's a reminder for you guys, but also a reminder for me. It's an important one for me to remember as well, because I, in my life, have gone through many times where I have compared myself to other people. Particularly when I was studying to become a pastor. I remember being in one particular class, and I saw that I had all of my friends who were amazing at speaking. They were so good, and I was comparing myself to them, and I was like, I'm never going to be like them. I'm never going to be able to do this for a job. I'm not as good as them, so why bother trying? And I remember I had a bit of a crisis moment where I went to the beach late at night by myself, and I prayed. And I just sat there and I was like, God, why am I here? Is this the right thing for me to be doing? Am I wasting my time? And I remember reading in the Bible and going to the start of John. I believe God led me to that passage. And it talks, and the story goes like this. It's John the Baptist. Now, John the Baptist was a pretty rogue guy. He was outside of the village. The Bible says he ate locusts and ate honey. And he's out there doing his thing. And the priests and all these people came out to him, and they were trying to box him in. They were trying to ask him, who are you? And they ask him, are you a prophet? And he's like, no, I'm not a prophet. Are you a pastor? No, not pastor. Are you a rabbi? No, not a rabbi. And they're like, well, who are you then? We want to know. We've got bosses to answer to. We want to tell them who you are, who you say that you are. And he answered this. He said, I am the voice of one calling out in the wilderness, make straight the way for the Lord. And in that moment, I kind of realized that I don't have to fit into any particular mold. All I have to do is do my thing, live my life, and make straight the path for the Lord. Do my thing and pave the way. Do my best to glorify God in my context. So I want you to think about that today. Your context, your field, your basketball court. What's your playing grounds? And how can you make the most of your playing grounds? Play your hardest within your field. You have 3 more weeks left of this year. Play your hardest in that field. In those 3 more weeks, how can you make the most of those 3 more weeks? The opportunities that you have in those 3 weeks. I know you think, oh, I'll be back here next year, I'll have the same opportunities again. You're right. You will have similar opportunities again, but you won't get this time back. 2020, the 3 weeks at the end of 2020. Opportunities. There's so many opportunities right in front of us, and they pass us by, and sometimes we don't even notice. So that's my encouragement to you today. Play within your courts. Make the most of the opportunities that are right there in front of you.